Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. The time is 1:01 p.m. And this is a pre-hearing conference, the matter of Robert Devine for the Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. We are convening in person and remotely over Zoom, and this portion of the pre-hearing is open to the public and is being recorded. We will then enter into a closed session to address the motions in limine and other confidential matters covered under the protective orders issued in this case. We will not reconvene the public portion after the closed session. The Honorable Kenneth J. Fishman will be the presiding officer over today's pre-hearing conference. My name is Lizzie Smith, and I'm the hearings administrator for the Post Commission. And this matter is now before Judge Fishman.
So good afternoon. Counsel state their appearances.
Shaun Martinez for the Division of Police Standards. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Robert Stowe on behalf of Mr. Robert Devine, who's sitting next to me.
All right, so just to reemphasize what Lizzie just said, I issued an order back on April 28th, which indicated that because much of the material we're talking about today is potentially, if not already determined to be covered by certain protective orders that were issued in this case, entered in this case, an original protective order and a supplemental protective order. And that was to protect certain confidential information that's contained in those documents. So I determined that it would be prudent to, at that portion of this hearing where we discuss those particular documents, to close these proceedings. And the best way to do that, in my view, was to deal with some matters that are not confidential, that are subject of the pre-hearing memorandum we'll talk about in a moment. And after that, there are certain motions in limine which have been filed by the parties that deal with the documents that are protected by the protective orders issued in this case. So once we finish with the more general procedural matters and get into the discussion about the motions in limine, we'll close the hearing. That means that individuals who are not parties to the case or counsel or otherwise required attendees, whether they be in person or viewing on Zoom, will not be able to participate thereafter. And there'll be nothing that's happening after we discuss the motions in limine, which would require us to open up the hearings again. So once we close the hearing, there'll really be nothing for anybody to see. And counsel, as I recall, we're pretty much in agreement with proceeding in that manner. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so thank you for your filings. I did receive the pre-hearing memo to refer to that first, as well as your witness and exhibit list. As to the pre-hearing memo, you addressed those things which are required to be heard and discussed at a pre-hearing. We do have a final hearing date of June 5th, or and just June 6th if it's necessary to go in 2 days. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I said, we received your list of witnesses, your exhibit list. Most of what we really have to talk about today relates to these exhibits, motions in limine. I understand that there has been no progress towards any pre-hearing resolution of this case. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Correct.
And there are no outstanding discovery issues. We took a little while getting here because there were a lot of discovery issues, not that the parties weren't being cooperative. You were very cooperative, and I appreciate that. It's just you had to wait. Sources of information were coming from lots of different places, and it took time to accomplish that. Is there anything remaining from the respondent's point of view that needs to be discussed discovery-wise?
Yes, but I've referenced it in my in my response to the motion eliminated by the division.
Okay, so we'll talk about it then. All right. And from other than that, is there anything that the division has in mind?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Most of the if not all the disputed issues of law are also addressed in your motions in limine. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's correct.
As well as anticipated evidentiary issues, of which there are many, and we'll discuss those. When we get to the motions, At the time you prepared your joint pre-hearing memo, there was no stipulations that have been reached as to any of the law or facts. Is that still the case?
It's still the case.
Yes, it is.
And we don't have to worry about designations and counter designations from interviews or depositions, because there are no ones that would be subject to those designations. I think that's still the case. Is that right?
Yes.
There are confidentiality issues. I just referenced those. And as we get toward the actual final hearing, we'll have to also determine what portions of that hearing can be open to the public and those which can't. So other than the motions and limine, is there anything else more generally about this, the process that we need to discuss?
No.
Okay. Well, for all those who may or may not be watching, you never know on Zoom who's watching, right? So we'll have to close the hearing at this time.